The purpose of an academy is to provide a place to stimulate and encourage a state of learning, as well as to provide an education that equips its students with the tools needed to realize and achieve their respective roles in society and in history. The question naturally arises on what is the best way to structure an academy, both physically and academically. In order to prepare and to equip the next generation of minds, an academy must provide both a liberal and a classical education, and to inspire all who live in and around the academy, it must have public areas, which will be detailed later, that are conducive to and that magnify true beauty, thus, in turn, magnifying the mind. Firstly, before we discuss the curriculum itself, we must establish what sort of a building this academy must be housed in. Lofty ideals and ideas call for equally lofty structures, and beautiful thoughts are sparked by beautiful creations. As Tolstoy said, no school can call up feelings in a man, and he is correct. One cannot be fully inspired by words or lessons alone, but his environment provides that missing piece, as that is what will be ever before his eyes, and, as a result, in his mind. Therefore, this academy must be able to fully inspire and relax the mind, so that the instruction received inside may fall on tilled and fertile soil. This proposed building must be lofty and grand, not a haphazardly designed structure, not a building whose architectural design is common, but a unique, grandiose building, intricate and everywhere laced with style and detail. Of course, a building created by human hands can only inspire so much. Man is only a pale imitation of the ultimate creator. Therefore, nature must also play a heavy part in creating an inspiring atmosphere. Let this building stand on sprawling and diverse land, with bodies of water, forests, and hills, pavilions to study in, and paths to tread in quiet thought. Let natural light pervade every dark corner. But this academy must not be a boarding school. One's own home has no equal for how a student will be shaped. Of course, the academy must be open and available at all times to its students, but it must not be wholly living quarters. Academic stress requires a place to retreat to, and stress with family also requires a retreat. It is not good to have all one's problems associated with or stored in one place without having a retreat from that place. And finally, in relation to the physical structure of the academy, it must, as much as possible, be voluntarily funded by the public. Schools and places of thought must be kept out of the hands of the government, and public funding, when done voluntarily, produces interest in using and maintaining this academy. Also, being directed by the public ensures the academy retains the values of its community, preserving that community's culture in the minds of its students. Of course, it may be necessary for a wealthy patron or patrons to head up most of the funding, but such is the responsibility of noblesse oblige. Let us now discuss the curriculum to be used at our ideal academy. The first point I would like to stress is that there should be less curriculum and more open discussion. This enhances rhetoric skills and dissuades against merely learning answers. Here, it is less about memorizing a fact than learning to think, hold, and listen to opinions. This will lead to learning facts, but also what to do with those facts. Secondly, I believe the blending of both a liberal and a classical education to be best. A liberal education has for its end goal the teaching of a person on his role and duty to humanity, and what it means to be human. A classical education equips that person with the tools necessary to accomplish that role. Having a liberal education only is utmost cruelty, showing one his place on this earth, planting that seed, and then failing to show that student how to accomplish it. A bullet loaded into a gun without a trigger to fire it. And having only a classical education is to provide tools to a workman without a blueprint. The two systems must work in tandem. All other subjects not taught in those systems are unnecessary to the development of a student. Instead, let a man pursue the other subjects as his own curiosity directs. He will be equipped enough to make strides if his curiosity is not bored out of him by meaningless homework. But of course, a rudimentary understanding of Greek and Latin must be accomplished, and let no study begin without an explanation by the teacher on the importance of that subject. Nothing kills learning more than not valuing the studied thing. If I believe, say, rhetoric to have no value or meaning to my life, why should I waste time and energy worrying about the structure of Cicero's speeches? And let respect for teachers not go unlearned either, but let each student treat their teachers as if they were a sort of parent, trusted and wise and loving, but also a better, and to be deferred to on account of their status as teachers. Let magister and discipuli be distinct castes in the academic society. The final point to highlight in this proposed academy is the importance of public areas for everyone, not only students, to visit, namely a library, an art gallery, and a nature conservatory. The library, like its contents, must be austere and full of gravitas. The conservatory should also have benches and tables to work and read in, must be full of natural light, and essentially the opposite sort of environment than the library. The art gallery must be spacious, in contrast to the library, which should be intimate, highlighting local artists that reflect the Academy's ideals. Constant exhibitions from other galleries around the world may be hosted so that great works of art are more accessible. Again, the importance of noblesse oblige is obvious here. The value of this proposed academy not only benefits those attending, but extends to the whole community in the minds it cultivates in the present with the public areas, but also by reaching into the future through its students. And the most obvious and effective way of inspiring lofty and beautiful ideas is by creating lofty and beautiful structures where minds can grow.